there are two major changes in the field of funding of non-profit media in Croatia. Two recent changes that stem from our understanding of non-profit media as a sort of third pillar, third sector of the apart from public and commercial media. It's a very important ingredient of the whole system of public communication. However small, there are two rather new funding opportunities for small but developing sector of non-profit media in Croatia. First of all, there are 3 million kuna fund managed by Ministry of Culture for funding of non-profit media and independent research of journalists. And second thing is that we did however small but significant reform of the state fund for pluralism and diversity of electronic media, which allows the non-profit media to apply for that funding. It's not a small amount, 1.5% of that 2 million fund. Majority of that money goes to commercial, local radios and television station. But we see that the possibility of development of the presence of non-profit media in that in terms of that source of funding. Fund for pluralism, allow me to remind you, comes from 3% of public service broadcaster license fee. So, Croatian public service broadcaster is funded, is one of many European public service broadcaster funded both by license fee and commercial sources, advertising, which is rather now is rather small amount of advertising in overall funding. For instance, license fee income is around 1.2 billion kuna per year, while advertising sources are not more than 200 million per year or something like that. So the main thing is that license fee income is rather stable source of funding for public service broadcaster. You are all probably aware that market-funded commercial media, not only in Croatia, but perhaps everywhere, are not ideal source of funding of many journalist stories, especially investigative journalism. There are rather severe job losses in journalism in Croatia. Some sources prove that we have lost probably around 47 of journalist employment during past 5.5 years. So there is a tremendous need for any source of funding of investigative journalism, and we have managed to, rather as a small pilot project, it's not really large in extent, it's 300,000 in local currency, which we used for funding of journalist stories, it was interesting that the allocation of these funds was managed according to the votes of the public. So there was a sort of voting list of journalists' proposals. They pitched that to the public, and every citizen could vote for several of journalist works to be funded from that fund. All in all, there are the 19 one-month supports for journalists were awarded, and 3 works were awarded with 3 months supports. So hope that result will be interesting for the public. It's rather new project, so we expect like end of this month the journalists will start to publish their work, and it's limited to the sector of non-profit media. Each work need to be free of charge, to be available free of charge for the general public in non-profit media like internet media or non-profit radio station or something like that.